Sure.
Thank you both. Mr. Graywall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming today. This essentially is about tax fairness and the perception that all Canadians that make income should pay their fair share. Now, our Prime Minister has publicly stated that the international community has to work together to make global finance more transparent, to prevent the sort of inequality highlighted by the Isle of Man and the Panama Papers. So our government is committed in the budget to increase CRA's budget by $440 million. Now, my question goes to, would it be appropriate to say that KPMG stands to profit a great deal on such tax avoidance mechanisms? Now, you mentioned earlier that the firm made $1.6 million on implementing these 16 Isle of Man tax avoidance structures. How much of that money was returned because this structure ultimately did not work in the best interests of your client?
Well, the answer to that is none, because at this particular point in time, there hasn't been a determination as to the effectiveness of the planning. The matter is in front of the courts, I believe, in our court system. But at this particular point in time, there's been no need for a refund of any fees.
How, and we spoke about the average you charge an individual taxpayer $1,400 to file their tax returns. Now that's a far stretch from the $49.95 that H&R Block charges. Sorry, what?
You're behind the times.
Oh, I got the student rate up until last year. So. But more importantly, how much does KPMG do for pro bono initiatives to help Canadians that can't afford $1,400 to get tax advice from experts such as KPMG? And on a daily basis in our constituency offices, we don't deal with mega corporations complaining with the CRA because they can afford, and we don't deal with the wealthiest people either in Canada. We deal with the average Canadian who is being audited by the CRA and can't afford a KPMG to come defend them. And there's a lien on people's homes, and individuals are very, very uncomfortable, with their tax situation. So does KPMG do pro bono work?
Yeah, there's two answers to that. The answer is yes. We help out every April. We go to seniors' homes to help on a voluntary basis to help them file their tax returns. I think that's critical. I think even though our tax system is getting simpler, it is still far too complex, and for the average individual to try and deal with their issues on filing their tax return, it's still too complicated. It needs to be streamlined somehow, in my humble opinion. Second, the second thing is, the one good news is that technology has enabled a lot of Canadians to be able to do more of their tax returns on their own. I said we do 15,000 personal income tax returns. I'll speculate that 20 years ago we would have done 150,000, but now people can do their tax return over the phone. They can have their information uploaded on their computer. They can deal a lot easier with compliance issues than they would have through technology, and I think that's the trend that needs to continue, because if you want a self-assessing system to work effectively, you can't have someone struggle with trying to comply. It just isn't fair in my
framed my pro bono question by saying, how many pro bono cases do you do when people are being audited by the CRA? Because filing taxes is a lot simpler than helping people navigate the complicated structure. Now, people only hire you guys for your expertise, and I would highly encourage KPMG and other people in the industry to look into that. So you don't need to answer that question. On your code of ethics, the global tax code of conduct that you're extremely proud of, and I think it is very necessary for your industry, how much emphasis for new employees joining the firm is put on their relationship with tax authorities, particularly when they meet them at after work events such as the tailgate parties and the soirees that we've been hearing about in CBC. Now, as a lawyer, a lot of emphasis was placed on that in law school, in the professional responsibility courses, and at the firm that I practiced at. So what is KPMG's thought on that?
Well, as soon as an employee joins us, they've got to take the one fundamental course, in my humble opinion, and that's acting with integrity. So everyone gets trained on integrity courses, and I've been doing it now. Every 2 years, you have to redo it, and I've done it quite a few times because I've been with the firm for an awful long time, because integrity and our ethics are core to who we are and what we believe in. But if I can talk a little bit about the other aspect, which is the relationship with CRA. The tax system only works in Canada if there can be a relationship between tax authorities, taxpayers, and tax advisors. And CRA has very, very stringent rules about what they can and cannot do. They cannot come out for dinner, they cannot join us, et cetera, et cetera. There was one, I hope there still is one limited case. So when we get together for tax conferences like the Canadian Tax Foundation, I was speaking at that one that you're referring to in 2010 on global tax trends or whatever. The fact is that you get you get a huge amount of tax professionals that attend because we want to understand policy, we want to understand where planning's going, we want to understand global trends, et cetera. And CRA is there as well. And that's critical because they need to understand what we're thinking about planning, what we're thinking about might be some opportunities, where there might be some tax areas to save some taxes, et cetera, because if they see something that they say, we don't like it, well, then they're in the know. Probably even more importantly, the most important parts of those conferences for me as a tax professional were to understand what CRA likes and doesn't like. What are they working on? What are they concerned about? What aspect of tax planning or tax policy is on their radar screen, because that's when I can properly advise my clients. Now, during those meetings, 2 or 3 day meetings, like the one in Vancouver, we have a breakfast that's sponsored by an accounting firm. We sponsor for $5,000 a coffee break. The law firm, one law firm, sponsors at night an opportunity for everyone, all members that attend the conference, to get together, to have a coffee, have a beer, piece of cheese, whatever else it is. I hope that opportunity for CRA doesn't go away, because they should be treated like absolutely everyone else that attends those conferences. They shouldn't be felt to be any different than anyone else. And I've been in this business for over 30 years, and I've met a lot of people from CRA, and I can't imagine that a beer and a piece of cheese would impact their integrity in one way or whatsoever. I just don't think that that's, frankly, even fair.
I'll have to cut you both there. You're well over
We're just
time.
talking about wine and
Mr.
cheese.
Dussault, 3 minutes.